The Disrupt Education vlog can be found on YouTube. To hear it in podcast form, search Disrupt Education on any of the following podcast platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or Stitcher. Welcome to this episode of Disrupt Education. I'm Peter Hostrasser. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, share it out, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. I've got a great guest today, Shrobana Sengupta, and she is out in California. And I think we're both dark right now because we're in the winter months, but I wanted to say sunny California there. But hi, Shrobana. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter.
You are in high school, and we are shooting off January 2022 here with Youth Voice and the way that we're going to disrupt education in different ways. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so hi, everybody. As he mentioned, my name is Shavana, and throughout my entire life, I've been really creatively inclined. I've been the kind of person into arts and singing, and definitely not the sports kind of person at all. And, throughout my life, I've kind of experimented and tried to discover different paths where I can explore my passions and kind of find who I truly am. And for example, I've been doing Indian classical dance for the past 10 years, and I've also been singing and playing the guitar, and I've been doing art. So it's been many different paths where I've been trying to discover who I am. But when I got into high school, I took that journey much more seriously, and I really wanted to find activities which are very meaningful to me and that allow me to just be passionate and just explore that passion even further. And with the pandemic, I decided to start blogging as a way of, not stressing out during this time and just being able to have fun. And that blog's name is Merakix, and the name Merakix actually comes from a Greek word which is called Meraki. And this word means the love of creating and doing anything with your soul and love. And I feel like my blog is just that word is just the perfect embodiment for my blog, because it's literally what I do whenever I'm feeling really creative and when I'm just, really enjoying doing something. And I document it immediately in my blog whenever that happens. And, throughout that year, I discovered my passion for baking macarons as a result of a blog post I made for Mother's Day. And I would have never imagined that I would take that one blog post making macarons for Mother's Day and make it into this entire business, giving back to the community and combining everything that I absolutely love to do. So as of now in my life, that's where I'm at. And I just can't wait to keep discovering how I can combine business and giving back to the community.
That's awesome. I wish I actually blogged when I was your age and just and wrote things down. We didn't quite have the greatest computers back then. I'm aging myself. However, that's really interesting. Blogging through and just kind of writing down, I'm sure, like you said, that would definitely help. I actually do the podcast to kind of help, share stories and connect with people. Let's go into your educational journey, right? So you mentioned a little bit about, how you were you're very outgoing. You're looking at different things to try to feel out, what do you really like? Who are you? Which is amazing. Again, slightly jealous as a high school student myself. I just went through and checked the boxes. But take us through, has your experiences been going through elementary through high school, kind of deeper, like what are some of the classes that you like, you don't like, and inside and outside of school. Obviously, you're more the artistic, I don't want to stereotype, but an artistic student, not the athlete. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how that has evolved.
Yeah, so all my life, I've gone to a private school here in the Bay Area. And as being part of a private school, it was a very sheltered environment. And I basically grew up with my classmates. It was just the same 30 kids from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. And as much as I loved having that sense of family and sense of belonging, because we all knew each other so personally as a result of not having, so many classmates. But I feel like the fact that we had such a sheltered environment was kind of like something which, hindered me when it came to high school, because I wasn't as aware as other students may have been. But, throughout that entire middle school journey, I was able to take like different classes and whatnot, but it was very like strict in the sense that I didn't get to choose my classes. It was kind of set in stone already. And it was kind of like the same teacher teaching every single subject as it was. So it was kind of a different experience as I am experiencing right now in high school. But I'm very grateful for the education I got in elementary and middle school, because I was able to get exposure to all different kinds of things. I mean, we did PE where we did, we tried out different kinds of sports in our school. And we also did plays for like winter programs and spring programs. And we did music, and we had like all subjects to study from, obviously. So it was like a well-rounded education, which I'm very grateful for. And because it was a private school, it was much more rigorous. And it was kind of like a high school experience in a way. But I'm like really grateful that I had that kind of an education at that time, because it really did prepare me for high school well. And, that transition between middle school and high school was a lot smoother because of the rigor I already experienced being in middle school. And when I got into high school, it definitely was a big change. I mean, the fact that I was able to take so many different classes of different subjects and just different fields in general was just fascinating to me, because it made me want to explore myself even more and see what I like, what I don't like. And the fact that there were clubs and just groups of people who were, like-minded peers, like the fact that I can be in different groups and just share my opinions, and people, have similar thoughts. It was just amazing, because in middle school, we never had clubs or anything like that at all. So having the sense of community in high school was just amazing. And I remember being a freshman in high school and just joining every single club on club day, because I was so excited to experience everything. And as for classes, I mean, for freshman and sophomore year, it was pretty strict in the sense we were supposed to take certain classes to meet certain requirements. But as a junior and a senior, I was able to take so many more different classes in different areas. And, that kind of allowed me to explore my love for business, because I was able to take AP Macro last year, and I absolutely loved taking that class, and I enjoyed every single part of it. And I also was able to take AP Government, which kind of allowed me to combine both classes together. And it just gave me this well-rounded like sense of like how our world basically works. So I'm really grateful that my school has given me that opportunity to take the classes that I enjoy. And it's really allowed me to discover what I truly like to do.
I'm not going to argue with that as a business educator in high school. That's what I love to do. I love to teach and actually learn from students about, the business and interest. I'm obviously older, and it is wonderful to learn like the new industries and the things that are coming up with youth. So how then, you mentioned how you're starting a business and going through that, and I love macro as well. I took it in college, so what are some of the next steps for you coming into the spring of your last year of high school, and how are different ways that you're kind of showing people who you are? Obviously, we were talking right before the podcast we were recording about, those college apps and those things. But how are some different things that that you're showing, like the professional side of you?
As of right now, I'm just very focused on college apps, obviously, and making sure I present myself in a way I want colleges to see who I am, and making sure that's accurate. But in the spring semester, I honestly want to focus a lot more in establishing my business. I mean, this past year, I've been able to establish a lot, and I've been able to engage in projects, which has allowed me to discover my true passions and what I want to do in college. And I recently did a fundraiser for a local nonprofit and was able to raise over $15,000 for it. So it was a very big experience for me just to be able to do that. And I honestly want, and that kind of pushed me in wanting to explore the field of social entrepreneurship even more, and how I can combine business and social impact and just have, a big impact in this community, in this world with business. So in college, that's what I've been really looking into, trying to see different ways I can explore that. And I've been able to find so many different cool opportunities. And I'm just really excited for college, because I feel like the way I thought of high school when I was in middle school is now how I'm thinking of college. It'll just be an even bigger environment where I can do even like so much more. So I'm just really looking forward to that. And in my spring semester, I really want to focus back on my macro and business and take the insights I've had so far in my journey and implement them and take feedback and make it as strong as possible, and hopefully make the business an even bigger thing in the future. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
$15,000 is a great raise. It took me years to do that as an educator, let alone now, at your age to do that. That's wonderful. Congratulations on that. So this is the disrupt education question. So I got to ask you, so as you're seeing the stages going through, from middle school to high school to college, eager to get started, seeing these things, what would you change if you could go back? Is there something that, like, let's say Shrobana is in charge of high school now and what you can do in high school? There's no real like restrictions on rules or different classes that you have to take. What would you change? How would you change that role of the student in a high school at this time, if you could go back 4 years and change it?
The first thing I would do is probably take away a lot of those restrictions, because I feel like that kind of limits the student from exploring his or her passions. And as, like, let's say a principal of a school, I would probably remove some of the more basic classes, which I feel like we already know about, and kind of add more interesting classes, which allows you to really explore a very specific field. And I mean, I remember hearing a middle school student like not too long ago talking about how she's taking classes in interior design and architecture in middle school. And, when I heard that, I was so jealous, because I would love to have taken those classes as a middle schooler. So I think implementing classes specific to different fields and having like faculty which is experienced teaching those classes and having interactive activities and group discussions would probably allow for many students to be able to figure out what they really want to do. Because at 18, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, but with, committing to such activities, which allows me to be really passionate, I've been able to really discover that, business and social entrepreneurship is where I'm truly like interested in. And I feel like having similar experiences for others, like if other students can have such similar experiences, it would better prepare them for college, because they can come in knowing what they want to do and then take those classes, which allows them to explore those interests. And I think another thing which I would love to implement is allowing students to take a variety of different classes and not just specialize in one subject, because I feel like going to a Catholic private high school, I've been able to take religion classes because it's a requirement on my school. And even though there are times where I wish I could have taken a different class instead of religion, because I never really thought of being in a religion class, I honestly kind of enjoy learning about different religions and kind of learning more about Catholicism, because I feel like there's just so much to learn from it. And even though it is a religion, I feel like there's just values and just lessons from that subject, which I can apply to my own life, and just gives me an insight into other people's lives and what they do, like as Catholics. And I think it's just really interesting to be able to learn about different cultures in general. So I think just expanding like the field of like subjects and classes that students can take, and allowing them to take as many as they want, and having different clubs obviously to do that as well, is probably what I'll do.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a time frame, right? I feel the stress of students right now as an educator, because obviously there's an end, especially for upper class, like the seniors like yourself, where there's an end coming. There's a lot of pressure to go to the next level and all these different things. Yeah, I feel that. I feel like if we could open it up to where you just have a bigger pasture to play in or a bigger sandbox to play around in and figure these things out. How has COVID changed the way you view education?
COVID has made me realize so much. I mean, the fundraiser that I did, it was focused on underprivileged families affiliated with a local nonprofit called Sunday Friends. And they provide resources for the families and allow them to just survive life and just have those resources, which everybody deserves. And, during this pandemic, I myself was having major laptop issues. I was having Wi-Fi issues, and it was just really frustrating. And that kind of made me think about, like, what about the people who don't have that kind of liberty to have laptops? Like, how are they faring in this online school world? And that's when I kind of went up to Sunday Friends and I asked them about how they're doing. And James, who is the executive director, he was telling me how a lot of these families don't even have laptops and that they're doing work in school from a phone, and that over 80% of the families lost their jobs during COVID and, haven't received unemployment benefits and make less than $800 monthly. And when I heard that statistic, I was just shocked, and that kind of pushed me to do something for them. And that's where the whole idea of a fundraiser to raise $15,000 for 50 laptops for 50 of the families started, because I was able to see the inequity in funding when it came to schools in certain areas here in the Bay Area, and how a lot of these students, for example, at my school, I get iPads for all 4 years of high school, and that allows me to do so much, like my homework, taking tests and whatnot. But these students don't get that opportunity. They don't have that technology, and it's very difficult, especially when COVID hit. I can't even imagine what they went through without having that adequate technology to do school. And I really was committed to giving them that technology because I feel like everybody deserves an equal education and deserves a proper education, because that's kind of what forms the basis for your entire life of knowledge, whatnot. So I really was committed to raising that money for these families. And I'm really happy to say that I was able to donate over 70 laptops. And these families are also doing a computer literacy program in partnership with another nonprofit. So I've been really just happy that the fact that my efforts were able to help out so many families and provide them the skills to just fare in this online world. Because even if the pandemic's over, I feel like technology will always be there, and knowing how to use technology just opens the doors for so many more different opportunities for them. So.
That's truly amazing. I'm hearing you understood, you've learned empathy in there to a different degree, and empathy with action behind it, almost design thinking and seeing how that happened, and then doing something about it. I hope you realize you just didn't change, the life of a student. You've probably changed the life of a family, and you made the world smaller, right? So they could connect with people worldwide as well. That's wonderful. My last question is, okay, Shrobana is now can talk to herself as a freshman in high school. One sentence or one piece of advice would you give yourself if you could talk to yourself as a freshman coming in?
Don't be scared, because I was very shy and reserved, and I still kind of am, but I think with everything I've done in this past year, it's kind of opened me up, and I've been really social lately. But when I first came into high school, I was super scared. I was really just nervous going into school, because coming from a really small school and then all of a sudden coming to a school with 1,000 students was a huge change for me. But I would say don't be scared, because now looking back at it, I feel like I could have taken more classes, challenged myself even more, joined even more clubs. And I just feel like because I had that lack of knowledge back then, and I was just so reserved and not wanting to push myself out of my comfort zone, that I wasn't able to explore such opportunities. And I'm just grateful that I realized that now, because when I go to college, I know exactly what I have to do and not to be reserved and to be social and to, make those connections, because it's so important to just be out there. And explore everything around you. And so that's what I would tell myself.
That's wonderful. That's like expert advice. I've had people beyond 50 years older than you say the same thing. So that's wonderful that you have that self-awareness right now. I want to give a chance to let people connect with you. I know we're connected on SpikeView. That's a great platform. Are there other areas where people can connect with you as well, and maybe even learn how to, extend some of the charitable things that you're doing?
Yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram. My app is Marakix, and I'm also on Facebook. And as Peter said, I'm on SpikeView as well. So
well, thank you so much, Shrobana, for sharing your journey, your learning journey. Your self-awareness is amazing at your age. I can't wait to see what happens and where you go in the future. I'm going to guess it's going to be a successful, fulfilling place at your next level. And I will tell you, any college would be lucky to have you. So thank you so much for hanging out with us on Disrupt Education.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
And thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next time on Disrupt Education.